I have been a paramedic. I got my paramedic card in 2007, pretty much the beginning of 2007. 6 years. A typical day for a paramedic is basically from the beginning of my day, from the start of my day, we get in, we make sure that we're there early, we relieve the crew that's going off at night so that they get out, they don't get held over for a long call. The unit that I work on is a 911 unit out of West Sacramento. Every once in a while we'll do a scheduled transfer, but for the most part we're 911, so you never know when you're going to get that late call. You never know when someone's actually going to call, so we try to get there early for that crew. We also get there early, check out the unit, make sure we have all of our equipment, everything is ready to go and ready to roll. Once we get everything's ready to go, I happen to be a preceptor as well, so I have to make sure that my intern has all his paperwork and he's ready to also. He's checked out the unit himself and he knows where all the equipment is. Once we have all that stuff is good, then we basically go what's called 10-8, or ready, available, and we let our dispatch know and we roll out. Depending on where they need us, we go to that area and we basically are available to start running calls. You know, my initial draw to EMS was actually, it started way back in high school. So back in high school, I was doing different things. I had my hands in lots of different things, kind of like I do now, basically. And I was a aide for a teacher in the office, Elk Grove High School. I was working with a girl, and she was in the room with me in the office, and she had told me that she didn't feel that great, and so we sat down in what were the nurses' chairs right outside the nurse's office, but the nurse was busy with other students. Well, she sat down with me and she placed her head on my lap and she said she really didn't feel good and she felt like she was going to throw up, and I didn't really know what to do at that point. And that part of it wasn't so bad, but when we started getting into trying to find out exactly what was going on with her, I was trying to call for the nurse and find out, and she looked up at me and she asked me if I would get her sister, and that's when I kind of felt things were going wrong because I knew she was an only child. This was a pretty close friend, and I knew that she didn't have a sister. So her eyes kind of rolled back in her head and she began to seize. I didn't know, I never heard or even seen a seizure at this point. I was like 16 years old, no idea what to do. It turned out after the fact, you know, the fire was called out, they showed up, the paramedics came, they swooped her up, they took her off. I wish I could say that she was saved and everything was great, but she actually ended up having a brain aneurysm, she passed away. I felt pretty helpless at that point. I felt like I wanted to do something more and I couldn't. And so basically, she was the driving force for me to get into what I do. You know, the things that you see at work don't necessarily affect you at home for the most part. So what happens at work, you leave at work when it pertains to calls. Then I realized I needed to create a switch and I needed to just shut that stuff off. It wasn't an easy thing to do to just, you know, and so basically what I do is on my way home from work, I make a conscious effort to think about anything but work. My car, because I love building cars. My kids, what we're going to do for the weekend. So that I can just turn it off, and that becomes my switch. As soon as I get on to the next thing, it's off, it's gone.
Look, Dad!
Let's see. Dude, you did it! High five! Oh man, that hurt. Oh.